So our next stop is, how does the application process work? And for this part, I'm joined via Zoom by Elizabeth and Matthias. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, Perry.
Elizabeth, you are one of the two contact points for Germany, and Matthias, you are our contact point for Flanders in Belgium. Welcome again, and my first question is to you, Matthias. How does the application process work? What can you tell us about this?
Thank you, Perrine. Well, I think everything starts with a good project idea. And if you think you have a good idea, then the first thing you should do is not putting it on paper in a very extensive way. And it's also not launching it Northwest European-wide for a partner search. The first thing you should do is go see your contact point. I think with a quick online or physical intake meeting, we will be able to tell you if your idea fits with the program and also help you narrow it down to something that can fit one of the 9 specific objectives we have now. It's also a good moment for us to assess how much advice you will need for your idea. We'll ask you questions like, do you have your partnership almost complete, or should we help there? Which further support do you need? And so on, I think. Now, when you have taken this first hurdle and your contact point has become your new best friend, then you start drafting a project idea and you start looking for partners that you didn't have on board yet. And one way to do this is by drafting an idea or by publishing it on our brand new applicant community you've heard of today. It's a nice new online platform that gives a good overview of project ideas that are looking for partners. And if you don't have an idea yourself, you can just leave your business card there you can be found by potentially interested people. We recommend you to work through this applicant community, but of course, some people prefer to keep it more confidential, and sometimes there's also good reasons for it. So as contact points, we still dispose of a one-page Word template that you then can use for your project idea to spread it. At the stage of project idea, then the CP network can also help you spread your idea, help you structure your text if needed, and answer any other question you have. After you have done this, then your formal application process with 2 steps you've heard of can begin. And when it becomes formal, then there's an online tool to be used, another one, the GEMS. It will be an online tool which you can use to fill in your project application. But rest assured, we also still have a Word version template that you can use, and that is more practical to circulate among your partnership. In step 1, 2 things are very crucial. First of all, you're going to have to sort out who's going to lead your project. And you need to tell it to your contact point. Why? That's because we will make sure that your project proposal is then guided by the contact point of your lead partner's region. And as Valérie already said, it's not always an easy job being a lead partner. So sometimes it can help when you can talk to a CP in your own language or even in your own dialect. And sometimes CPs can also assist to a partner meeting or help you structure your idea into an actual project application. It's also crucial now in step 1, to fabricate a good storyline for your project. And the crucial big question that you should ask is not what do I want to do, it's why do I want to do my project? So state the needs and justify the common problems that you want to tackle. Argument on questions like how big is your problem, how many stakeholders face your problem, in which specific sectors is your need situated, and so on. And the second big question you need to ask yourself is, how do I want to tackle the problem? Do you need more demonstration pilots to show your stakeholders the right solution? Or is the problem more like policy work and action plans that are currently missing? Or is the public simply not aware enough of your problem? And do you need to tackle that? Or maybe it's all of that together, and that's fine too. But you need to ask yourself this question. Also ask yourself, how are you going to work in a transnational way with the partners? Is there some co-creation approach in your methods that you use? Also, what are the actual objectives and results that you wish to achieve? what is new in your project that you want to do regarding things that already have been done. And also give us one number, one budget for your whole project as a whole. These questions will also come back into your application form, and the CPs can help you again, of course. Once you've answered all these questions, then just hit the submission button and wait for the program's feedback, because your step 1 will be concluded. Then the program will take a few months to shine their light on what you have written down, and their light will come back to you in a color. Either it's red, and unfortunately that means that you can't go to step 2, or it will be green, which means full speed ahead for step 2. In step 2, even if you get a green light, there will of course be requirements and recommendations, because nobody is perfect after all. And we will help you to understand the remarks in a meeting with the evaluating JS officers and your lead contact point, which hopefully you know very well by then. After that, keep in touch with your contact point also. When writing your step 2 proposal, he or she can give you feedback on your writings, on your structure, and so on. And also just a fresh pair of eyes can help you get rid of tunnel vision, which some project partners tend to develop. So now that you have made it to step 2, you can finally start explaining no longer why and how, but what you are going to do in your project, on top of the why and how questions you've already answered in step 1. So in practice, this means translate your objectives into work packages with a series of activities in each work package. And activities must also lead to something concrete and tangible, which are things like deliverables and outputs. You should also add a credible timeline to your story in step 2. You should make a detailed project budget per project partner now. So in step 2, it's really the moment to get the people on your project staff that know how to do the counting and who also know where they can find match funding. So there's quite a lot of structure to follow here as well. And when you're the lead partner and you're not sure of some formulations or answers you've given to the feedback, who are you going to call again? Your contact point, of course. Finally, when you hit the submission button again, you're at the end, then there's still one thing to do. You cross your fingers for a good assessment and an approval by the program's monitoring committee. And rest assured that the contact points will cross their fingers with you too.
All right. Thank you very much, Matthias. You've hinted at it a little bit, but I am going to ask Elizabeth, how will applications be assessed? Elizabeth.
Yes. Hi, Farine, first of all. Good question. The assessments. This is the thing you're waiting for to enter step 2 or to start your project, depending on where we are in the process. So it's a step 2 application process. So it's also 2 assessments, one for step 1, one for step 2. We are going to look at step 1 first, because this is where we are, and I think this is the most important. You put a lot of work in your application form. It takes a lot of time, and you're talking to your partners, you're talking to the CPs, to everyone, you're writing it down. So please make sure, be eligible. It's the very first thing, meaning apply on GEMS, push the submit button. If you're not putting a submit button, you're wrong. Okay, so use GEMS. Complete all sections in English. We're talking English today, it's the program language. But we're also asking for summaries in all 4 program languages, so in Dutch, in German, in French as well. That's that only short part. We talked about the lead partner already. So the lead partner has a crucial role and has to be, he has to follow certain rules as well. So the lead partner must come from within the NWE area. We heard before there are partners that can be from outside the Northwest Europe area, but the lead partner, please be from inside the program area. And it also has to be a public non-for-profit partner. And that's it, what we heard before, 3 partners from 3 different countries as well. So if you have all of those, and one important thing, choose one specific objective, be focused on one topic. And then if you have all of this, you're eligible. And if you're eligible, then you go to the next step. Your project will be assessed on its quality. So we're looking for good quality. That's a standardized procedure. And I want to tell you one thing. We ask questions for a reason. You have to answer these questions in your application form because we want to find out if your project really fits what we are looking for in our program, because we have our challenges in Northwest Europe and we want our projects to help us address these challenges. So we have in step 1 4 criteria, and 3 are on relevance, where we check if this project is relevant for us. And what we heard before, the need and justification for the project must be there and must make sense to us. Your project has to contribute to our objective, and it has to have an added value, meaning going beyond what's already there in the field, but building on existing practices, meaning from projects you have been doing before, and that you can bring into a new project and help to achieve something in Northwest Europe. And what we heard before, the partnership is very important, and we have a look on it as well. So meaning, does your partnership structure, do you have the right partners on board to really do what you're planning to do? Are you able to implement your project and achieve the results you're promising us? And this is more or less what we're looking at. So really what we're asking is what we want to know. And it's the easy answer to the assessment. And what Matthias already said, if you are rejected, you get reasons why you are rejected, what we didn't find in your application. And the good thing is you can reapply if you take into account these things that the monitoring committee is giving you. They tell you why it didn't work out for you at this point. So work on it, take it into account, talk to your contact points, and you can resubmit or reapply the application. It's a bit easier. If you haven't been eligible, then make sure you're eligible and you can come back to step 1. But that's more or less how the assessment process works. And then, step 2, again.
All right.
Procedure.
Then you mentioned step 1, step 2. We are programmed in 2-step for application. Matthias, what is the timeline for call 1? And we have a nice image for that.
Thank you, Perrine. Yes, dates and deadlines. As most of you already have seen, the first call of this new programming period opened last week on the 22nd of March. And you have your time for your step 1 proposal until the 15th of June 2022. So this means that then over summer, the program will decide on which applications get a green or a red light. And by the half September, the 15th of September, successful applicants will be invited to work on a step 2 application. To make it clear again, without a green light, you can't go to a step 2, so a green light is really necessary. The deadline for your step 2 proposal then is in December 2022, so the 15th of December. And this means that you will get a decision in February 2023 on your project and whether you can start with it or not. So that's the moment for the final decision. You can plan to start your project and starting from this moment on. Perhaps for our Irish friends, some remarks on the deadlines. It's when you have a deadline, it's 12 o'clock at noon, but it's continental time. So for the Irish people, it's 11 a.m. If you did manage to write down all the deadlines on the image and which I explained, no worries. There's still the terms of reference which are published at each call and in which all these dates and deadlines figure too. And also one final remark, if you are not ready yet for this first project call, then there's a second call already coming up in November 2022. So you have your new chance there. So don't hasten things if you think you're not going to manage it. But of course, you're welcome to try already to come with something in call 1, and then you can get a feedback already in September to see whether you can continue or need to go to the second call. Thank you.
All right, Matthias, thank you. So we're 2.5 months away from the deadline for step 1. Elizabeth, do you have some do's and don'ts for our participants today? And then Matthias can add a few words.
Yeah. So do is definitely take all the resources Northwest Europe is providing to you. Check the program manual for the quality assessment criteria, for example, we just talked about. If you don't know if you're eligible and everything, it's all there in the program manual. And we have fact sheets online. We have CPs talking to you all the time. There's a lot of things. Use them all. Read carefully. Also, start as early as possible. The time is now. It takes some time to build up a trustful partnership and to develop a joint vision and a joint project. So please start now. And I think it has been said before, but we are your friends. So please talk to us. And friends are sometimes also, telling the truth. And if we tell you, well, it's not what it could be, then it's not mean. We're just trying to help and, working on it together. So this is do's, more or less, a lot of do's.
All right, good. Matthias, do you want to add anything to help our audience today?
I think I might give 3 tips as well. My first tip comes from an educational principle everybody has heard when growing up, or even now still. Please mind your language. It means that you need to remain polite, but it also means that you are submitting your project proposal to people that are not experts in your domain. So the program covers too many topics to have experts on everything. Try to exchange your own sectoral slang for the Interreg jargon, and Contact Point can help you to do it. And get you acquainted with the Interreg language you need. Secondly, focus is the magic word here. Have a clear idea of the change the project wants to make, and avoid words like holistic approaches, integrated approaches, or things like one size fits all. So hocus pocus, focus. And thirdly, think global and act local. So don't just think about your local investment pilot or tool that you are going to develop. Think about why you need to do it in a transnational program with a big partnership. And when describing how you're going to work on your local pilots, make sure you demonstrate how you're going to cooperate with partners to add a transitional European dimension to your local investments. So that's the local part in it.
All right. Thank you, Matthias and Elizabeth. Peter, any reactions from our audience?
Yes, of course. I'm going to start off with one that's directly related to what Matthias was just mentioning, related to who is going to be evaluating. The question literally is, who is actually going to evaluate and rank the proposals? How does that happen?
How does the evaluation happen? Matthias, Elizabeth?
Well, it's an assessment that will be done by the JS officers, of course, and then the member states make their own assessments too. And all these things are put together in a monitoring committee that then decides. So it's consensus decision making, and there are several opinions coming together. So it's the JS and the member states both that make the assessments.
All right, thank you very much. Peter, what are the other reactions or questions?
So there have been a lot of questions that have been coming in about specific project ideas, specific things related to what can I and can I not do. And I think our contact points are very well positioned to say that basically these are the people that you should be speaking to. We're not going to take all of these questions right now related to whether or not this idea would be a good idea, good fit for a project. We're just going to recommend that you get in touch with your contact points and start discussing your project development ideas later on after this event. On that note, though, there is another question that is coming up in terms of project development related to the number of pilots. So with that, I'm wondering if Matthias and Elizabeth could answer the question about how many pilots should a project develop? Is one enough for the whole partnership, or should each partner develop a pilot in their own region?
All right, Elizabeth, do you want to take it? And if there's anything to add, Matthias, you can go ahead after.
I mean, the question is, what do you need the pilot for? That's the question you need to ask yourself, and that answers it in the end. So if you need pilots in different sizes or scales because you need to, or want to achieve a blueprint for certain solution, then try to have different pilots in different places. One thing that has a transnational value, then, one pilot is enough. It depends on what you want to achieve and why do you need the pilot for, and that is always something you need to describe and explain.
Matthias, anything else?
Yeah, I think you also need to add the stakeholders' perspective. And if you have a pilot, who can you serve with it? And where are the stakeholders located? If you're going to work for one member state alone, it's not a very transnational thing to do. So link your pilots to your target groups and how many people you are going to reach with your pilots. And if then it's necessary that you have multiple pilots, that's the better story for your project. If you can have few pilots but reach a lot of people in other member states and you're getting them across borders, why not? But it's really a bit up to the specific case and the question.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Matthias, for joining us today and for all these tips to our participants. All right, after the video, I will have Alexandre and Vinicius tell you how to get started.